Welcome to ZICA Academy YouTube channel. In this lecture, I want to provide solution to ICAN November 2024 performance management question number 1. If you are coming across my lecture for the first time, I say you are welcome. To my returning subscriber, I say thank you for being part of this channel. So the following are features in the lecture. Number 1, calculation of 1, material price and usage variance. 2, material mix and yield variance. 3, sales price and volume variance. 4, market size and market share variance. ICAN November 2024 performance management question number 1. Kayode Limited KL manufactures and sells a product SW which is widely used in the construction industry. Although SW and competitors' products have sold well for many years, KL believes that products of this type are now reaching the end of their life cycles because of concerns about their long-term environmental impact. KL has adopted a strategy which is designed to achieve profitability for XW in what the company believes will be for the short remaining product lifespan, as indicated below. The only variable cost of manufacturing SW is raw materials. The following table shows the standard variable cost of manufacturing 95 kilograms of SW. We have the kilograms, purchase price, and total cost. Raw material A, 50 kg, 160 naira per kg, 50 by 60, that amounted to 8,000 naira. Raw material B, 30 kilograms, 180 naira per kilogram, 30 times 180, that is 5,400. Raw material C, 20 kilograms, 280 naira per kilogram, 20 by 280, that amounted to 5,600. We have total raw materials input, 100 kilograms. Total amount is 19,000 naira. Less normal loss, 5 kg. Normal output, 95 kg. Last month, KL produced 19,000 kilograms of XW and sold this for 368 naira per kilogram. 18 naira per kilogram higher than the budgeted selling price. The actual sales quantity represented a 30% market share and was 5% less than the budgeted sales quantity. When KL was preparing its budget, the budget committee assumed that the company will have a 25% market share. The actual cost of raw materials purchased and used last month were as follows. Raw material A, 9,800 kg at 165 naira per kg, 1,617,000 naira. Raw material B, 6,800 kilograms at 175 naira per kilogram, amounted to 1,190,000. Raw material C, 4,400 kilograms at 295 naira per kilogram, that amounted to 1,298,000 naira. Total cost, 4,105,000 naira. Required: A, determine KL's budgeted and actual contributions for SW for last month. Then carry out a variance analysis to reconcile the budgeted and actual contribution in as much details as is possible from the information provided here. B. Critically evaluate the sources of the strategy adopted by KL in relation to SW. Justify your answer having regard to the particular phase of the product's life cycle as identified in the question, and making use of the information available from your answers to part A above. That is the question. Now, let's have the solution to the question. In the A part of the question, you are to determine the budgeted and actual contribution, budgeted contribution, at the same time to determine the actual contribution for XW for last month. Then you are to carry out the variance analysis to reconcile the budgeted and actual contribution in as much detail as is possible from the information provided. You want to calculate the budgeted contribution, at the same time you want to calculate the actual contribution, then to carry out the variance analysis, then do a reconciliation statement. That is the requirement of the A part of the question. I have the solution to the question. Solution. The name of the entity is Kayode Limited. Kayode Limited. KL. In the requirement A, you have to calculate the budgeted contribution. Calculation of the budgeted contribution. To calculate the budgeted contribution, you will need the budgeted sales revenue. I will answer this question in two ways. Let me have method one. Method one. I will answer the question in two ways. Budgeted contribution will be budgeted revenue. Budgeted revenue. Budgeted revenue will be standard selling price. Let's go through the question. Last month, KL produced 19,000 kilograms of XW and sold this for 368 naira per kilogram, 18 naira per kilogram higher than the budgeted. If it is 18 naira higher than the budgeted, that means the budgeted selling price is not up to 368 naira. Since it is per kilogram, it is not up to 368 naira. Therefore, to get the standard selling price, you have 368 naira minus 18. So 368 minus 18 naira. This will give you the standard selling price. Multiply by the budgeted quantity. And what is the budgeted quantity? Last month, KL produced 19,000 kilograms of SW and sold this for 368 naira per kilogram, 18 naira per kilogram higher than the budgeted selling price. The actual sales quantity represents a 30% market share and was 5% less than the budgeted sales. Since it is 5% less than budgeted sales, that means the budgeted sales is greater than the actual sales. The actual sales quantity, we were told, produced 19,000 kilograms of SW and sold this. The actual quantity sold is 19,000 kilograms. Since the budgeted quantity sold is 5%, I mean the actual sales is 5% less than the budgeted quantity sold. Therefore, let's calculate the budgeted quantity sold. Let me have working one. Calculation of budgeted sales quantity in kilogram. The actual quantity sold is 19,000 kilograms. You were told this is 5%. 19,000 kilograms is the actual quantity sold. We were so told it is 5% less than the budgeted sales. So budgeted sales is not given. Budgeted sales, that is what you are looking for. If this is 5% less, that means this is equivalent to 95%. You are in need of this. Budgeted sales, that is what we are looking for. The actual sales quantity is equivalent to 95%. That means budgeted sales is 100%. That is what we are looking for. So budgeted sales now, if you cross multiply, budgeted sales 19,000 times 100, 19,000 times 100 divided by 95. 19,000 times 100 divided by 95. That gives us 20,000 kilogram. 20,000 kilogram. That is the budgeted sales in quantity. That is 95% equal to this. Or I just say 95% of budgeted sales equals to 19,000 kg. Therefore, 1% of budgeted sales will be 19,000 divided by 95. Now calculate 100%. Now 100% of budgeted sales, that will be 19,000 divided by 95 times 100. And that will give us 20,000 kilogram. So our budgeted sales is 20,000. Therefore, budgeted revenue will be times the standard selling price times 20,000. So if you subtract 18 from 368, then you'll be having 350. 350 times 20,000. That gives us 7 million naira. 7 million naira. That is the budgeted sales revenue less budgeted cost, budgeted variable cost. Budgeted variable cost. Now, you were told the only variable cost of manufacturing SW is raw materials. That is the only variable cost you have. The following table shows the standard variable cost of manufacturing 95 kilograms of SW. Standard is for a unit, but you were told it is the standard cost of 95. Since it is for 95, and remember the budgeted quantity is 20,000 kilograms, and you were given the total standard cost of materials to be 19,000. So for one unit now will be 19,000 divided by 95, since this is the cost of 95 kilograms. And you want to calculate the cost of 20,000 kilograms. The cost of 95,000 kilograms is 19,000 naira. Therefore, to get the cost of 1 kilogram, you have 19,000 divided by 95. So we have 19,000 divided by 95. This will give you the cost of 1 kilogram. Then since 20,000 kilograms were sold times 20,000, that will give us 19,000 divided by 95. That gives us 200 naira per kilogram. 1 kilogram is 200 naira times 20,000. That gives us 4 million. 4 million. The budgeted variable cost is 4 million. If you subtract the 4 million from 7 million, then you have 3 million. That is, remember you have to calculate, determine the budgeted contribution. So our budgeted contribution amounted to 3 million. Budgeted contribution, that amounted to 3 million naira. Method 2, calculation of budgeted contribution. You have standard selling price. Standard selling price, that amounted to 368 minus 18. You know the 368 is the actual selling price. If you subtract that, then you have 350. That is the standard selling price. Then less standard variable cost. You learn standard variable cost, standard variable cost. You know the standard cost given is the standard cost for 95,000 kilograms. The standard cost of 95,000, the standard cost of 95 kilograms is 19,000. Therefore, 1 kilogram now will be 19,000 divided by 95. So we have 19,000 divided by 95. 19,000 divided by 95, that gives us 200 naira. The standard cost per unit amounted to 200 naira. Therefore, standard contribution, 350 minus 200, that is 150. The standard contribution is 150. Therefore, budgeted quantity sold, as calculated earlier, we got 20,000 kg. 20,000 kg. Therefore, budgeted contribution, 20,000 times 150. We have 3 million. 3 million naira. That is the budgeted contribution. Both methods lead to the same answer. Whichever method you use in exam is acceptable. Having calculated the budgeted contribution, you are equally asked to calculate the actual contribution for the period. Actual contribution statement. You want to calculate the actual contribution for the period. You have been told last month KL produced 19,000 kilograms. The actual quantity sold is 19,000 kilograms. So actual sales revenue now, actual sales revenue. No, this is for product SW. So 19,000 kg were sold. At what price of SW? And sold this for 368 naira per kilograms. The actual selling price is 368 naira. 368 naira. Therefore, 19,000 times 368. That gives us 6,992,000. 6,992,000. Actual variable cost. Actual variable cost. The actual cost of raw materials purchased and used last month were as follows. These are the actual costs. The total is 4,105,000 naira. 4,105,000 naira. If you subtract that from 6,992,000, then you have 2,887,000 naira. This is the actual contribution for the period. Actual contribution. So, having calculated the actual contribution and the budgeted contribution, then you are equally asked to carry out the variance analysis. On the basis of information provided, you can calculate the material price variance for A, B, and C, and the usage variance. Now, variance analysis. Variance analysis. So, number one, we have material price variance. Material price variance, MPV. We say material price variance equals to standard price minus actual price multiplied by actual quantity purchased. You have three classes of materials, A, B, and C. What is the standard price of A? We have purchase price, standard price, 160 naira for B 180, C 280. 160, 180, and 280. Minus actual price. Then after subtracting the actual price, you multiply by the actual quantity purchased. Actual quantity purchased. The actual price of A, of raw material A, 165. That of B, 175. That of C, 295. And the actual quantity for A, 9,800, 6,800, and 4,400. The actual price for material A, 165. That of material B, we have 175. And for material C, we have 295. The actual quantity for material A, we have 9,800 kg. That of B, we have 6,800 kg. That of C, we have 4,400 kg. $160 minus 165, that would be 5. 5 times 9,800, that gives us 49,000 naira. 49,000 naira. The actual price is greater than the standard. That means it is an adverse variance, not favorable. You pay more for the material than planned. It's an adverse variance. 49,000 adverse. For material B, 180 minus 175, that would be 5 times 6,800. That gives us 34,000 naira. 34,000 naira. You pay less for the material because actual price is lower than standard. You pay less for the material than planned. That means it is a favorable variance. Favorable. For C, 280 minus 295, that gives us 15 times 4,400. Then you have 66,000. You pay more than planned, so it is an adverse variance. 66,000 adverse. Now let's sum them up. Therefore, material price variance, we have two adverse. Let's add the two adverse. The total adverse is 115,000 minus favorable of 34,000. The net difference is 81,000 adverse. 81,000 adverse. So that is material price variance. This material variance or variances, since the measure of these materials were used, you can compute the material mixed variance. Material mixed variance. Material mixed variance. If you have watched my earlier video, I've told you that material mixed variance is revised standard quantity minus actual quantity multiplied by the standard price. Standard price. Now, to compute the revised standard quantity, you have three classes of materials. A, calculation of revised standard quantity. Calculation of revised standard quantity. Revised standard quantity. Revised standard quantity. Three materials were used, A, B, and C. 50 kg, 30 kg, and 20 kg. 50, 30, 20. That is totaled 100 kg. You don't need to consider the normal loss when you are computing the material mix variance. Losses will not be taken into consideration when calculating the material mix variance. Then you sum up the actual quantity. If you want to calculate the revised standard quantity, first of all, add the actual quantity. We have 9,800 plus 6,800 plus 4,400. Therefore, actual quantity is totaled 21,000 kg. 21,000 kg. That is the total of all the actual quantities. It is that total that will now be apportioned using this proportion. So this will be 50 over 100. This will be 30 over 100, while this will be 20 over 100 times total of the actual quantity, which is 21,000 kg. 21,000 kg. 21,000 kg. Remember, the 21,000 kg is the sum of all the actual quantity. That is for A plus B plus C. And the A, the actual quantity is 9,800 kg plus B, which is 6,800 kg plus C, which is 4,400 kg. That is what gave me 21,000 kg. It is that 21,000 kg that will be apportioned between the three materials A, B, and C. So we have 50 divided by 100 times 21,000. That gives us 10,500. 10,500 kg. Then 30 divided by 100 times 21,000. That gives us 6,300 kg. Then 20 divided by 100 times 21,000. That gives us 4,200 kg. Now, to compute material mix variance, we say it is equal to revised standard quantity minus actual quantity multiplied by the standard price. And we have three materials, A, B, C. The revised standard quantity as computed, we have 10,500 kg, 6,300 kg, and 4,200 kg. Minus actual quantity. Actual quantity, we have 98, 68, and 44 for A, B, and C. 9,800 kg, 6,800 kg, 4,400 kg. Then you multiply by the standard price, where you have the standard information, 160 naira. 160, 180, and 280 from the standard information. 10,500 minus 9,800, we have 700 times 160, we have 112,000 naira. 112,000. This is revised. The actual is lower. It is a favorable variance. 112,000 favorable. For B, 6,300 minus 6,800, we have 500. 500 times 180, then we have 90,000. 90,000 naira. you use more than planned, is an adverse variance. Then 4,200 minus 4,400, that is 200 times 280, that gives us 56,000. 56,000. So you use more than planned, it's an adverse variance. Let's sum up the variance, the two adverse, 56,000 plus 90,000. The adverse is total at 146,000 minus favorable of 112,000. Then we have 34,000 adverse. 34,000 adverse. Therefore, the material misvariance is totaled 34,000 adverse. 3. Let's compute material yield variance. Material yield variance. Material yield variance. Material yield variance is equals to standard quantity based on actual production minus revised standard quantity multiplied by the standard price. So we need the standard quantity based on actual production. Calculation of standard quantity based on actual production. So we used to allow for normal loss when calculating the standard quantity based on actual production. Now, you were given three materials, A, B, and C. A, B, C. So 50, 30, 20. 50 divided by. Now, what is the output achieved after losses have been allowed? We have 95,000, 95 kilograms. So we use over 95, not over 100. Over 95 times, what is the actual production? Last month, KL produced 19,000 kilograms. Actual production is 19,000 kg. So 50 divided by 95 times 19,000. That gives us 10,000 kg. For B, we have 30 kg over output achieved. 30 over 95 times 19,000 kg. That gives us 30 times 19,000 divided by 95. That gives us 6,000 kg. For C, we have 20 over output achieved. Since it is yield is talking about output. So we have 20 over 95 times 19,000 kg. That gives us 19,000 times 20 divided by 95. That gives us 4,000 kg. That is the actual yield. That is standard quantity based on actual production. Now let's substitute into the formula. So material yield variance now. Material yield variance equals to, says standard quantity based on actual production minus actual quantity and minus revised standard quantity multiplied by the standard price. So we have standard quantity. We have A, B, and C. Standard quantity based on actual production, 10,000 kg, 6,000 kg, 4,000 kg. Revised standard quantity as calculated earlier. We have 10,500, 6,300, and 4,200. 10,500, 6,300, and 4,400 multiplied by standard price. The standard price are 160, 180, 280. 160, 180, 280. Revised budgeted quantity for A, 10,500, which is this. B, 6,300. C, 4,200. I mistakenly wrote 4,400. Let me correct that. Now, let's calculate material yield variance. Material yield variance, we said that would be 10,000 minus 10,500. That would be 500. 500 times 160. That gives us 80,000. 80,000 naira. Adverse. For B, 6,000 minus 6,300, that would be 300. 300 times 180. That gives us 54,000 adverse as well. 54,000 adverse. For C, 4,000 minus 4,200, that would be 200. 200 times 280. That gives us 56,000 adverse. 56,000 adverse. Now, let's sum them up. Therefore, material yield variance is totaled $80,000 plus 54,000 plus 56,000, and that is totaled 190,000 adverse. 190,000 adverse. If you sum up the material means variance of 34,000 adverse and material yield variance of 190,000 adverse, it will give you the material usage variance. Let's compute the material usage variance to verify that. For material usage variance, this is not necessary. You do not include this in your working. Since the mix plus yield variance will give you the usage variance, you decide not to show your material usage variance, so you can still do your reconciliation correctly. So material usage variance is standard quantity based on actual production minus actual quantity multiplied by the standard price. Then we have for three materials, A, B, and C. So our just concluded workings for material yield variance, we have calculated the standard quantity based on actual production. For A, we have 10,000. B, we have 6,000. And for C, we have 4,000. For A, standard quantity based on actual production, that is 10,000 kg. 10,000 kg. And that of B, 6,000 kg. For C, we have 4,000 kg. An actual quantity given in the question for A is 9,800. 9,800. For B, it is 6,800. And why that of C is 4,400. That is the actual quantity. 4,400 times standard price. The standard price given, standard price 160 180 and 280 for A, B, and C respectively. 160, 180, and 280. Therefore, what will be the material usage variance? 10,000 minus 9,800, that would be 200. 200 times 160. That gives us 32,000. 32,000. What is used is more than planned. That is a favorable variance. For B, 6,000 minus 6,800, that would be 800. 800 times 180. That gives us 144,000. 144,000. This is an adverse variance because what is used is more than what was planned. So it is an adverse variance. For C, 4,000 minus 4,400, that would be 400. 400 times 280. That gives us 112,000. 112,000. This is also an adverse variance because what was used in production is more than planned. So we have adverse. Therefore, what is the total material usage variance? Material usage variance is totaled. We have an adverse variance of 112,000 plus an adverse variance of 144,000 minus a favorable variance of 32,000. So we have 224,000 adverse. 224,000 naira adverse. Now, let's sum up the mixed and the yield variance to know if it will be equal to 224,000 naira adverse. Summary. We have material yield variance. We have material yield variance of 190,000 naira adverse. 190,000 adverse. We also have material mixed variance of 34,000 adverse. Material mixed variance. We have 34,000 adverse. If you sum them up, I've told you the sum will give you the material usage variance. 190,000 plus 34,000, that gives us 224,000 adverse. 224,000 adverse. Therefore, material usage variance is 224,000 adverse. We discover that the sum of the material yield variance and material mixed variance gives us the material usage variance. Number 5. On the basis of information provided, we can compute sales price variance. Sales price variance. We say sales price variance equals to sales price variance. Sales price variance. We say it's equal to standard selling price minus actual selling price multiplied by actual quantity sold. Actual quantity sold. Where SSP stands for standard selling price, ASP is actual selling price, AQS stands for actual quantity sold. Now, from the question, you were told last month KL produced 19,000 kilograms. So that means actual quantity sold is 19,000 kilograms of SW and sold this for 368 naira. So actual selling price equals to 368 naira per kilogram. 18 naira per kilogram higher than the budgeted. That means the standard selling price. If the actual selling price is 18 naira more than the budgeted selling price, that means the standard selling price will be 368 minus 18, giving us 350 naira. Now, let's substitute into the formula. Therefore, sales price variance, we say it is equal to standard selling price, and that is 350. 350 minus actual selling price, which is 368. Actual quantity sold, which is 19,000 kg. Therefore, sales price variance equals to 358 minus 368, that would be 18. 18 times 19,000. So we have 342,000 favorable. It is favorable because it was sold higher than planned. It was sold higher than planned. Then, number 6, we can compute, on the basis of the information provided, you can compute the market size variance and market share variance. The sum of market size variance and market share variance will give you sales volume variance. But it is not compulsory you compute the sales volume variance. But for our purpose, let me compute that. Sales volume variance, which is equals to budgeted quantity minus actual quantity sold multiplied by standard contribution. Standard contribution. Since it is marginal costing school of thought, standard contribution. Budgeted quantity. You were told the actual sales quantity represented a 30% market share and was 5% less than the budgeted sales. That means the actual sales is equivalent to 95%, since it is 5% less than budget. So that means this is equivalent to 95%. Therefore, budgeted quantity sold will be 19,000 divided by 0.9. That is divided by 95% times 100%. That will give us 20,000 kg. So budgeted quantity sold is 20,000 minus actual quantity sold, 19,000 kg, multiplied by the standard contribution, which have been calculated earlier, and we got 150 as the contribution. So 20,000 minus 19,000, that will give us 1,000. 1,000 times 150, that will give us 150,000. Therefore, sales volume variance will be equals to 150,000. The budgeted quantity is greater than the actual quantity sold. That means less of the product were sold than planned, than budgeted. Therefore, it is an adverse variance. It's an adverse variance because less were sold during the period. Now that we have computed the sales volume variance, I've told you that this sales volume variance can be analyzed into market size variance and market share variance. Now, let's compute the market size variance and market share variance. Number 7, market size variance. market size variance. I've told you, if you have watched my earlier video on market size and market share variance, I've told you that market size variance is equal to S and T. Since I've told you this is the same as planning variance. Remember, in planning variance, you are comparing the S and T. X and T, market size minus exposed. Exposed market size multiplied by the budget market share. Budget market share multiplied by standard contribution. Standard contribution. I've told you if it is absorption costing, then you use standard profit. So S and T, which is the initial budget, the original budget is S and T. Remember, the budgeted quantity is 20,000. When we divided the 90,000 kilograms by 95%, we converted it to 100%. That is 19,000 divided by 0.95. That gave us 20,000. So X and T, market share 20,000. That is the initial budget. This is the budget. The actual sales quantity represented a 30% market share. The actual is 30% of the market share and was 5% less than the budgeted sales quantity. When KL was preparing its budget, the budget committee assumed that the company will have a 25% of market share of the market size. 25% of the market size will give you the market share. So what is now the market size? S&T market, this is market size, not share. We want to compute the market size. That means if it is equivalent to 25%, divide 20,000 by 0.25. When you convert 25% to where you convert 25% to decimal, it gives you 0.25. 20,000 divided by 0.25, that gives us 80,000 kg. Then exposed market size. Exposed, which is the latter one, which is 19,000, and that one is equivalent to 30% market share. So that means you have 19,000 divided by 0.30, 30%. The 30% given here. So 19,000 divided by 0.3, that gives us 63,333. And it's a continuous variable. 63,333.3333 kg. Therefore, market size variance. Market size variance, we say it is S and T, and the S and T is 80,000. 80,000 minus exposed 63,333.3333 multiplied by budget market share, and the budget market share is 25%. Multiplied by 25%, which is 0.25, multiplied by standard contribution. And we got our contribution to be 150 naira. 150. Therefore, market size variance equals to 80,000 minus 63,333.33333. We have 16,666.6667 times 0.25 times 150. That gives us 625,000. So the ex post, the latter target is lower than initial target. Therefore, this is an adverse variance. Number 8, market share variance. Market share variance. We said this is an operational variance. Operational variance. In operational variance, you are comparing the ex post with actual. Market share variance. So market share variance, that will be ex post market share minus actual market share, actual market share multiplied by the standard contribution. Standard contribution. So the market size, exposed market size have been calculated earlier. As we said, exposed market size. We said that was 19,000 divided by 0.3. When we divided this 19,000 by the 0.3, that gave us the exposed market size. If you go through our calculation of market size variance, you will see this calculation. Then, what is now the exposed market share? Exposed market share. So what will you share from it? Exposed market share. When KL was preparing its budget, the budget committee assumed that the company will have a 25% market share. So the market share now will be 25% of this. 19,000 divided by 0.3 times 25%. So this will give you the exposed market share. 19,000 divided by 0.3 times 25%. That gives us 15,833.3333. So exposed market share is 15,833.3333 minus actual market share. The actual share of the market is 19,000. Actual quantity sold 19,000 times standard contribution. Our contribution, which have been calculated earlier, was 150. So 15,833.3333 minus 19,000. We have 3,166.66667 times 150. That gives us 475,000. Therefore, market share variance. We have 475,000. It is a favorable variance because the share of the market is greater than planned. So we have favorable. Let's check if the sum of the market size and market share variance, if it will be equal to the sales volume variance. Remember, our market share variance is 475,000 favorable. Why the market size variance was 625,000 adverse. 625,000 adverse. If you subtract the favorable variance from that, 625,000 minus 475,000. So we have 150,000 adverse. So that means the sum of the two agrees with the sales volume variance. So we only calculated the sales volume variance so that we can compare, we can use it to verify if the market share variance and market size variance are correct. Now, we have to prepare the reconciliation of budgeted contribution with actual contribution. We want to reconcile the budgeted contribution with actual contribution. So you have the budgeted contribution as calculated. Our budgeted contribution, we have 3 million. 3 million naira. 3 million naira. Then we have sales price variance. Sales price variance. And that is a favorable variance of 342,000. 342,000 favorable. We add the favorable variance. Then we've computed the sales. We have a market size variance. Our market size variance was 625,000 adverse. 625,000 adverse. Adverse variance is a negative variance. Then we also have market share variance. Market share variance, and that is a favorable variance of 475,000. The sum of the two will be 150,000, which is equals to the sales volume variance. The sum of the market size variance and the market share variance is 150,000, a favorable variance. Sorry, this will be adverse, rather. 150,000 adverse. And let me just indicate favorable or adverse. This is favorable. This is adverse. But adverse is negative, minus. Then we have material price variance. And we have 81,000 adverse. Material $81,000 adverse. Then we have, remember I've told you the sum of material mix variance and material yield variance will give us the material usage variance. So now let's have material yield variance and material mix variance. The sum of the two will give you the material usage variance. And material mix variance. Remember, I've told you that material mix variance plus material yield variance, I said to give you material usage variance. Our material yield variance, we got material yield variance 190,000. 190,000 adverse. Material yield variance 190,000 adverse. Our material misvariance is 34,000 adverse. Material misvariance 34,000 adverse. The sum of the two, 190,000 plus 34,000. The sum is 224,000. That is material usage variance. 224,000 adverse. Let's sum up everything. 3 million, which is our budgeted contribution, plus 342,000, which is sales price variance, minus sales volume variance adverse of 150,000, minus 81,000, which is material price variance, an adverse variance of 81,000, minus 224,000, which is material usage variance, 224,000. The total is 2,887,000. This 2,887,000 is the actual contribution for the period. Actual contribution. If you compare the actual contribution obtained from our reconciliation statement with our initial calculation of actual contribution, you will discover the two are the same, 2,887,000. This marked the end of the solution to the question. Please drop the love emoji, like the video, also share it with others. Thanks for watching ZICA.